You wake up, but something in you is already tired. A strange emptiness lingers beneath your skin, as if during the night, an invisible hand reached inside your soul and took something precious. You breathe, but the air feels heavy. You look in the mirror, and for a moment you don't recognize the person looking back. The eyes are yours, but the light behind them seems dimmed. It's as if the world has quietly stolen a piece of your life force without asking permission. There are days when no amount of rest can restore you, no coffee can awaken you, and no smile can hide the quiet unease you carry. This is not simple exhaustion. This is a silent theft of energy, one that happens in the spaces we cannot see. Helena Blavatsky once wrote that every human being is surrounded by an invisible current, an ocean of subtle forces that shape thought, emotion, and destiny. And within this ocean, not all currents are kind. Every word spoken with envy, every thought projected in anger leaves a trace. Every interaction plants a seed, and some of those seeds grow in the soil of our own aura, feeding on what makes us alive. This is the hidden war of energies, the unseen dialogue of light and shadow. And while most sleep through it, the wise learn to listen. Blavatsky devoted her life to unveiling what others refuse to see. That reality begins in the invisible. She believed that the mind is a magnet, and that every thought becomes a living force, drawing to us the exact vibration we emit. The world outside is only a reflection of the harmony or chaos within. But what if there were a way to stop the silent drain? To awaken each morning not as prey to invisible currents, but as a master of your own field of light. There is a forgotten discipline, hidden for centuries in the monasteries of Tibet and the inner teachings of theosophy. A method so simple yet so powerful that it can transform your energy in less than 1 minute. Stay until the end of this video, because today, the secret Helena Blavatsky guarded with her life will be revealed. And once you understand it, you will never look at your mornings or at yourself the same way again. There are mornings when you wake up and feel like you've already lived a whole day in your sleep. The weight behind your eyes doesn't belong to the body. It belongs to the spirit. You stretch, you breathe, and yet something feels stolen. The air feels colder, the silence heavier. You can sense that life has moved through you, but not entirely with you, as if some unseen force had quietly borrowed your strength while you dreamed. This is not imagination. It is a pattern that many souls throughout history have felt but few dared to name. Helena Blavatsky once wrote that every human being is a living field of energy, a pulsating sphere of thought and emotion, woven from invisible threads of the universe itself. What you feel, what you think, what you fear, all radiates outward like light ripples through still water. But she warned that not every ripple returns as it left. Some come back tainted, some never return at all. In her travels through Tibet and India, Blavatsky met monks who spoke of the same mysterious exhaustion, a loss of life force not caused by illness or age, but by the constant exchange of subtle energies between people. They described it as an invisible commerce, where attention is the currency and emotion the transaction. Every glance, every word, every thought carries weight. Some give, others take. The exchange happens whether you consent or not. Have you ever entered a room that felt suffocating even when no one spoke? Have you ever left a conversation feeling smaller, quieter, somehow less alive? These are not coincidences. They are energetic imprints, unseen fingerprints left on your field. According to Blavatsky, the aura records everything, like wax that remembers every flame that touched it. And when too many impressions accumulate, when envy, fear, and sorrow cling to your light, you begin to lose the music of your own vibration. The strangest thing is how we normalize it. We call it stress, bad luck, or fatigue. We treat it with pills, coffee, or distraction. But deep down, something in us knows that this is not physical. There is a hunger in the world that feeds on attention and emotion, a kind of psychic gravity that pulls at those who forget to guard their inner flame. Blavatsky called this the law of currents. She said that thought and desire are forces that move through the collective mind of humanity, like invisible rivers. And if you stand unaware in their flow, they will carry you wherever they wish. In her writings, she described a curious phenomenon. When people of strong emotion gather, They unconsciously create a cloud of magnetic tension. This cloud, though unseen, can influence behavior, mood, and even physical health. In the monasteries she visited, the monks spoke of places where such clouds lingered for centuries, temples that felt alive, vibrating with compassion or terror depending on the thoughts once left there. Now imagine what happens inside our modern cities, where millions of thoughts collide every second, where emotions bleed through walls, and where few remember how to cleanse their inner space. There are reports, ancient and modern, of travelers who fell ill simply by sleeping in certain places, of families whose harmony collapsed after receiving a certain object, of healers who carried the pain of those they tried to help. Science may call it suggestion or coincidence, but Blavatsky believed these were glimpses into a deeper reality. That energy, once projected, does not vanish. It remains, it circulates, it attaches. And when your own energy field is unprotected, it becomes the open door through which the world enters uninvited. Think of how many invisible connections you form in a single day. The stranger's gaze on the street, the argument overheard at work, the flood of emotion from the screen you scroll before sleeping. Each of these moments is an exchange, a silent handshake between your field and the field of another. Some leave you brighter, others drain you like slow poison. Over time, this constant leakage reshapes who you are. You begin to forget your natural state, peace, clarity, and quiet power, and instead inherit the static of others' minds. Blavatsky once said that modern humanity suffers not from lack of energy, but from misuse of it. We spill it, she wrote, in endless reactions to the world. We fight shadows, feed illusions, and chase desires that never belong to us. And so we wake every morning emptier, though surrounded by abundance. But she also said something else, something that still unsettles those who read her work. She claimed that this invisible exhaustion is not accidental. It is a form of control. The more drained you are, the easier you are to direct. The less aware you are of your own vibration, the more you become an instrument of the collective vibration that surrounds you. This idea was not meant to frighten, but to awaken. Because once you become conscious of the exchange, you begin to see its patterns everywhere. You notice how certain people seem to always bring calm, how others disturb your balance within seconds. You start to feel the thin membrane of your own aura reacting, vibrating, adjusting. And then you understand, the world is not random, it is responsive. Every emotion you emit calls something back. There are stories of individuals who, after practicing the techniques taught in Blavatsky's circle, reported profound changes. One woman claimed that by focusing her will each morning, visualizing herself surrounded by a sphere of light, the hostility from her co-workers seemed to dissolve overnight. Another described how, after months of anxiety, she adopted the morning practice of silent alignment, and suddenly her chronic fatigue vanished as if it had never existed. These are not miracles. They are signs that consciousness, once directed, becomes its own medicine. Yet there remains a question, a haunting one. If energy flows where attention goes, then who benefits from your distraction? Who feeds on your constant fear, your endless comparison, your silent self-doubt? What happens when billions of minds, restless and unguarded, all radiate anxiety at once? Perhaps the answer explains why the world feels heavier each year, why peace seems rarer, and why so many souls wake each day feeling slightly more disconnected from themselves. Blavatsky believed that the first step toward freedom is awareness. You cannot seal a door you do not know is open. And so she urged her students to begin not with rituals or mantras, but with observation. Watch how your energy shifts around others. Watch what kind of thoughts follow you home at night. Watch the silence between your breaths, for it is there that your true power waits. Awareness, she said, is the seed of mastery. But awareness alone is not enough. The invisible world responds to structure, to command. That is why, deep in the mountain monasteries she visited, Blavatsky learned of an ancient ritual preserved for centuries, a 1-minute discipline performed at dawn, when the mind is still soft between sleep and waking, a practice that forges the invisible armor of the aura and seals it with intent. She called it the shield of the monk. The monks called it something older, a practice of remembrance, a return to the light within. Imagine if you could start your day knowing that no word, no thought, no vibration could reach you without your consent. Imagine standing in the same storm but remaining untouched by its wind. This is not fantasy. It is the forgotten art of conscious energy. And though the practice itself is simple, its effects are profound. It changes how you move, how you speak, how you perceive reality itself. In the next part, you will discover how this ancient shield is created, not through belief, but through will. You will learn the silent formula Helena Blavatsky taught to her closest students, the one that transforms thought into protection and energy into light. But before you hear it, ask yourself, are you ready to stop being drained by the unseen and start becoming its master? Because once you cross that threshold, you will never again look at fatigue, conflict, or coincidence the same way. The first light of morning touches your skin and the world feels quiet, almost sacred. The air carries a stillness that asks you to pause, to listen, to remember that every new day begins as an empty page. But this morning is different. Today you are about to reclaim what has been taken from you for far too long. Helena Blavatsky taught that, in the silence between waking and movement, there is a space where thought becomes creation. In that fragile moment, your mind is not yet a mirror of the world. It is the brush that paints it. Most people rush through this sacred window without noticing. They open their eyes, reach for their phone, and instantly allow the chaos of others to pour in. News, noise, messages, streams of energy that invade the pure field of consciousness before it even takes its first breath. And so, the day begins not with creation, but contamination. But you, right now, are learning what few remember, that the invisible determines the visible, that what shapes your life is not what happens to you, but what vibrates within you. This is where the shield begins, not as fantasy, but as a living act of will. Blavatsky once told a story of a young disciple who came to her weary and fearful. He complained that every day, others seemed to drain him, his co-workers, his friends, even his family. He said he felt like a vessel with a crack, always leaking peace. She listened quietly, then said, "You are not a vessel, you are a source, but you have forgotten to command your own flow." That night, she taught him the morning discipline, the minute of silence, the breath of alignment, the vision of light. Within weeks, he returned transformed. The same people, the same world, but everything felt lighter. He no longer absorbed the pain of others. Instead, his calm began to influence them. The flow had reversed. And isn't that what we all secretly long for? To stop being swept by the tides of emotion, by the moods of others, by the endless noise that dictates how we feel before we even know why? We were never meant to be victims of invisible currents. We were meant to be their masters. Every emotion that touches you is a test. Every thought that enters your mind is a visitor. You can choose which to host and which to send away. This practice does not ask you to escape from life. It invites you to engage with it from a higher plane. Imagine walking into a crowded subway, feeling the thick fog of frustration and hurry around you. But instead of shrinking, your energy expands. You remain silent inside, but your presence changes the atmosphere. People near you breathe easier. Their shoulders loosen. Their tension softens without knowing why. That is what the monks of Tibet called the silent blessing, when your light becomes stronger than the world's noise. One day, a student of Blavatsky asked her, "How can I protect myself from evil if I cannot see it?" She replied, "You protect yourself not by fighting the shadow, but by becoming too bright for it to see you." She explained that every time you visualize your light, you are shaping reality at its root. Every morning when you awaken and consciously create your sphere, you tell the universe, "My energy belongs to me. Nothing enters without my permission." Now, try to imagine what this truly means in your own life. Think of all the small ways your energy is taken each day, the argument that plays in your head long after it ended, the sadness from a stranger's story that lingers in your chest, the fear injected by headlines meant to keep you trembling. These are invisible hooks, and they work only because you forget that your attention is sacred. The more you give it unconsciously, the weaker your field becomes. But when you take a single minute each dawn to align your breath, your thought, and your will. You seal those openings. You reclaim your current. You become whole again. People who practice this report strange but beautiful changes. They find themselves less reactive, more patient, more aware of how the world feels around them. They begin to see patterns, how certain moments seem to drain and others fill them with clarity. They speak softer but with more weight. Their decisions flow with precision. They begin to live by design, not accident. And there is something even more mysterious. Once your shield becomes strong, you start to attract synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to guide you. You think of someone and they call. You need an answer and it appears. This is not luck. It is resonance. When your energy becomes coherent, the universe organizes itself around you. You move from survival to creation, from being affected by the invisible to commanding it. Still, the world will test you. There will be days when people try to provoke, when circumstances try to shake you. But that is when you will remember Blavatsky's words, "The soul that knows its light fears no shadow." The test is not to resist the world, but to remain luminous within it, to breathe, to center, and to let your light speak louder than your voice. There are many who hear this message and feel its truth but do nothing. They wait for a sign, a miracle, another teacher. But the truth is simple. You are the one you have been waiting for. The choice to protect your energy, to command your field, is the moment you step into mastery. And that moment begins now. So if you feel this call in your soul, if something inside you whispers that you are ready to awaken your light and reclaim your strength, declare it. Write in the comments, "I create a shield against the evil." Do it not as a phrase, but as a command. The act of writing is the act of anchoring your intention into reality. Let the universe witness your decision. And when you are done, look for the red button that glows somewhere in the corner of your screen. Only the chosen will click it. Those who are ready to walk this path, to protect their light, to learn the deeper secrets of the soul. Click it and become part of a circle of minds awakening to the same truth. Because once you know how to shape the invisible, you will never again be shaped by it. The next part of this journey will reveal the exact process, the ancient sequence of breath, focus, and command that Helena Blavatsky called the ritual of the luminous sphere. It is the moment when imagination turns to energy, and energy turns to power. Prepare yourself, because once you begin, there will be no going back to the ordinary way of living. The world will still be the same, but you will never be the same within it. There are truths that are not learned through reading or hearing, but through an inner recognition, a sudden vibration in the soul that says, "This is what I have always known." What you are about to hear belongs to that category of truth. It does not demand belief. It demands remembrance. Every human being carries, buried deep within, the ancient memory of the first light, the pure frequency from which all life began. The goal of the shield, as Helena Blavatsky taught, is not to create protection from the world, but to restore connection to that original light. She believed that most human suffering comes from forgetting who we are. When you forget your origin, you begin to seek power outside yourself, in people, in approval, in things that fade. But when you remember, when you awaken the spark that has slept inside since the beginning of time, fear disappears. The shield is not a wall. It is the awakening of the radiant self that has always been invulnerable. Blavatsky wrote of an experiment she witnessed in a remote monastery in the Himalayas. The monks placed a bowl of water in front of a novice and asked him to focus on love until the water shimmered like liquid glass. The master then told him to imagine hatred, and the water darkened, its surface disturbed. The young man trembled. The lesson was clear. Energy obeys consciousness. Every emotion has a geometry, a frequency that shapes the invisible. When you learn to direct that frequency, you no longer live by reaction. You live by creation. Imagine for a moment that every thought you have leaves a small light or shadow behind it, like a footprint in the unseen. How many of your days are bright? How many are dimmed by fear, anger, or doubt? Blavatsky taught that thoughts are not passive. They are entities. They move, attach, and multiply. And those we feed most often become our atmosphere. This is why the mind must be trained like a sacred instrument. Without mastery, it plays the same painful melodies again and again. What would happen if you stopped allowing your mind to wander into fear for a single day? If you could see the invisible pattern of your thoughts, would you still let them roam free? The shield begins to form when awareness becomes sharper than emotion, when you stop identifying with every feeling that passes through you. Because you are not the storm, you are the sky that holds it. Blavatsky often said that reality mirrors our dominant vibration. People who dwell in resentment attract more of it. Those who dwell in serenity become invisible to conflict. The shield works by shifting that dominant tone. When your energy rises above the frequency of chaos, you no longer collide with it. Just as a radio tuned to a higher station does not hear the static below, your consciousness tunes out lower vibrations. The dark can no longer perceive your light. But this is not achieved by willpower alone. The key is resonance. Energy follows patterns, and when you deliberately create a pattern of harmony every morning, it stabilizes your field. The monks Blavatsky studied knew this secret well. Each dawn, they stood facing the rising sun, not to worship it, but to synchronize with its rhythm. They breathed in time with the earth's pulse, letting the first rays awaken the golden current in their hearts. They were not praying to something external. They were awakening what was identical within themselves. The modern world has forgotten the sacredness of rhythm. We live in constant motion, but without direction. We inhale information, noise, and emotion without pause, and wonder why our spirit feels dizzy. The shield is a way to restore that rhythm, to remind the body, the mind, and the soul that they are instruments meant to play in harmony. Every time you practice it, you retune yourself to the greater symphony of life. Have you ever felt that time behaves differently when you are in peace? How an hour in serenity feels vast and luminous, while a day in anxiety disappears in a blur. Blavatsky suggested that time itself is elastic. It expands and contracts according to the frequency of consciousness. When you are centered in your light, time slows, and reality becomes cooperative. You notice details others miss. You feel guided, as if the world itself whispers directions. She once told a student that the aura of a person who practices awareness becomes so magnetic that even animals sense it. In one letter, she described a monk whose presence calmed storms. Villagers said that when he walked through the market, birds gathered on the rooftops and silence followed him like a halo. Whether literal or symbolic, the meaning remains. Coherence creates influence. The stronger your inner alignment, the more the outer world harmonizes around you. Now consider your own life. How often do you feel that you are the one shaping your reality? And how often do you feel that reality shapes you? We spend our days reacting to outer events, but rarely do we pause to realize that those events are reflections of our own energetic state. If your relationships repeat the same pattern, if conflict seems to follow you, the source may not be external. It may be the vibration you continue to project. Change the vibration, and the reflection changes. In one of her private diaries, Blavatsky wrote, "The disciple must learn to feel the movement of thought as one feels the movement of wind, without resistance, without attachment." She believed that awareness is a muscle that strengthens only through quiet observation. Each morning, before forming the shield, the initiate must first recognize the current state of his energy, not to judge it, but to see it. Only by seeing can one choose. The practice itself is deceptively simple. Sit upright. Let your spine be a column of light, the bridge between heaven and earth. Breathe slowly, with intention. With every inhale, draw in clarity. With every exhale, release heaviness. Feel the light in your heart begin to pulse, first small, then larger, until it surrounds you completely. It is not imagination. It is energy responding to command. When you focus on the image long enough, something physical begins to shift. You may feel warmth, vibration, or stillness. That is the aura remembering its shape. Pause for a moment. Why do you think such a simple act holds such power? Perhaps because it aligns the three instruments of creation: thought, emotion, and breath. When these act as one, they become the voice of the soul and the universe listens. Blavatsky warned that the world will always try to break this unity. Every distraction, every fear, Every wave of collective anxiety seeks to fragment your attention. That is why the practice must be daily. A single spark forgotten becomes ash, but when renewed each morning, your light becomes self-sustaining. It is no longer a shield you create, it is a state you become. In our time, surrounded by noise and uncertainty, this teaching feels more relevant than ever. We live in a world where information travels faster than thought, where fear is sold as news, and where silence is treated as weakness. But the one who learns to guard their energy becomes a rare and powerful presence. You begin to influence reality not by effort, but by being. Your calm becomes contagious. Your presence becomes protection for others. You are no longer at war with the invisible. You are in dialogue with it. Can you imagine what would happen if more people lived like this? If entire cities began their days in silence, creating shields of light before facing the noise? Would conflict still spread as easily? Would fear still find so many open doors? The world changes when the invisible architecture of thought changes. And that begins with one person, you, deciding to take responsibility for your vibration. Blavatsky believed that humanity stands between two great forces, one pulling us toward matter, the other toward spirit. Each choice, each emotion, each thought is a vote for one side or the other. The shield is not merely protection from darkness, it is participation in evolution. Every time you align with light, you strengthen the collective ascent of the human race. Your private act of awareness becomes a cosmic contribution. But what if you forget? What if you fall into doubt, or anger, or exhaustion? Do not despair. Even the masters have days when the light flickers. The key is not perfection, but return. Return to the breath, the silence, the image of light. The universe never stops responding. Only we stop speaking its language. The moment you remember again, the dialogue resumes. There will come a time when the shield becomes unnecessary, not because the world is safer, but because you have realized there was never any threat outside of your own unconsciousness. That is the true mastery Blavatsky hinted at, the day when protection transforms into union, when the barrier dissolves and what was once defense becomes radiance. Until then, we practice, not to escape the darkness, but to refine the light. In the next part, you will discover the deeper law that governs this transformation, the law of reflection, the mechanism by which every thought, every feeling, and every action returns to its source. You will see how the shield not only deflects negativity, but also teaches the universe how to respond to you. But for now, remember this: you are not learning magic, you are remembering mastery, and every breath you take with awareness is another step back toward the light you have always been. The morning ritual begins not with movement, but with awareness. The body may be still, but the energy is awake. In this silence, you are no longer just a person in a room. You are a fragment of the universe remembering itself. Helena Blavatsky said that every dawn is an initiation, a return to the temple of light within. The sun rises outside, but its truest reflection rises in you. The moment you open your eyes and choose consciousness over chaos, you are already performing the ancient art she called the ritual of the luminous sphere. Breathe. The world is filled with invisible currents, and your breath is the bridge between them. Modern science has begun to confirm what mystics have known for centuries, that breathing with intention changes the chemistry of the blood, calms the nervous system, and alters brain activity in measurable ways. A 2022 study by Harvard University revealed that people who practiced mindful breathing for just 5 minutes a day showed a 40% decrease in cortisol, the hormone of stress. But Blavatsky would say that this is only the physical reflection of a greater truth. The real transformation happens beyond the measurable, in the subtle fabric of the aura. Imagine the first breath of your day not as air but as light entering your being. Feel it travel up your spine, the axis of your spirit, until it reaches the top of your head. Here, Blavatsky said, the crown of the human aura touches the divine field. It is the point where personal energy meets the universal source. Every conscious inhale draws strength from that source. Every exhale clears what no longer belongs to you. And so, the invisible architecture of the shield begins to form. cell by cell, layer by layer. In her private letters, Blavatsky described energy as intelligent. She said it behaves like a mirror, responding precisely to the intention that commands it. This is why every act of attention matters. If you focus on fear, your energy contracts. If you focus on strength, it expands. Modern neuroscience now echoes this principle. Through what is known as neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on thought. Each focus, each repeated emotion, sculpts new pathways, strengthening certain frequencies while dissolving others. Science and spirituality are no longer enemies. They are different languages describing the same law. And this law reveals something extraordinary. What you feel repeatedly, you become. When you practice the shield, you are not pretending to be protected. You are training your cells to resonate at the frequency of protection itself. Every vibration becomes a declaration. The world responds accordingly. Consider this. In 2019, researchers from the University of California recorded a curious phenomenon during global meditations. Across multiple cities, small but consistent drops in crime and aggression occurred within 24 hours of these gatherings. Skeptics dismissed it as coincidence, but the data repeated again and again. Blavatsky would not have been surprised. She wrote that collective consciousness is the true weather of humanity, and that when enough souls align in calm and coherence, even chaos begins to yield. But the practice of the shield is personal first. It begins with one person choosing alignment over reaction. Each morning, as you breathe and visualize your sphere of light, you are creating an electromagnetic boundary around your aura, one that reflects what harms and magnifies what heals. There is no superstition here. The human heart produces an electromagnetic field measured to extend meters beyond the body. Its rhythm synchronizes with those near you. When your field is coherent, it stabilizes the chaos in others. You are not only protecting yourself, you are recalibrating reality. Blavatsky often said that this moment, right after awakening, is the most potent hour of the day. It is when the gates between the visible and invisible are open. Your mind is half in dream and half in the physical world, and thus most capable of shaping both. In this twilight, she instructed her students to envision a radiant sphere expanding from the center of the chest, pure light pulsating in harmony with the heartbeat. Whether gold or silver, each color carries a purpose. Gold ignites the power of will. Silver awakens the power of reflection. Together, they create the balanced armor of the awakened soul. Pause for a second. What if every human being began their day like this? Not reacting, but creating. Not absorbing, but radiating. Global statistics show that over 70% of people begin their mornings with immediate exposure to digital devices, filling their consciousness with fear, competition, and distraction before their first sip of water. If even 10% chose stillness instead, imagine the ripple effect. Fewer conflicts, softer words, more clarity. Blavatsky foresaw this transformation and believed it would begin quietly, through individuals who remembered their inner light. She told a story of a monastery where each monk performed the ritual at sunrise. The valley around them was known for its serenity. Travelers said the air itself felt different, lighter, almost charged with peace. Scientists today might call this negative ion concentration or atmospheric balance, but perhaps what they were feeling was the accumulated vibration of 1,000 calm minds. The aura of a place, like that of a person, is created by the thoughts it contains. But how do you sustain this state in a world designed to disturb it? The secret lies in awareness. The shield is not a single act. It is a dialogue. The more you remember it throughout the day, the more stable it becomes. Each time you feel stress rising, recall your sphere. Each time you sense negativity, breathe light back into your center. Blavatsky said that every remembrance of light reinforces the magnetic pattern of the soul, making darkness less capable of attachment. Protection is not defense, it is dominance of vibration. Yet there is another dimension to this teaching, one that speaks not only of safety but of purpose. The light you generate does not belong solely to you. In her writings, Blavatsky claimed that energy never stops at its origin. It travels, connects, and influences far beyond perception. Each time you practice, you strengthen not only your field, but also the collective network of light surrounding the planet. Imagine millions performing this ritual, a silent web of luminous consciousness spanning continents. That is how humanity evolves, not through revolution, but through resonance. Still, the deeper truth is harder to accept. The same law that shields you also reflects you. Whatever energy you project into the world inevitably returns. This is the hidden core of the shield, the law of reflection. It is not merely a spiritual idea, but a cosmic mechanism. Energy does not vanish, it mirrors. The intention you hold becomes the echo that shapes your fate. Every thought, every emotion, is a seed returning in its own time. Statistics reveal that more than 85% of human thoughts each day are repetitive, and around 80% of those are negative. Imagine what that constant vibration creates in the invisible realm. The storms we see outside are reflections of the turbulence within collective consciousness. This is why Blavatsky insisted that self-mastery is planetary service. Every person who learns to calm their inner field contributes to the stabilization of the greater field. Each shielded soul becomes a lighthouse. Think of those moments when you feel attacked by criticism, envy, or misunderstanding. Instead of reacting, imagine your sphere shining brighter, sending back only clarity. The energy returns to its source unchanged by your peace, teaching its sender through the law itself. Over time, the world begins to respond differently. People argue less, accidents diminish, opportunities align. The law is merciless, but it is just. It gives back precisely what you emit. In her final lectures, Blavatsky warned that humanity was entering an age where invisible wars would be more dangerous than physical ones. She foresaw a time when fear, amplified by technology, would drain collective vitality. And yet, she said, those who learn to command their energy will remain untouched. They will move through chaos as if walking through mist. Their shield will be invisible, but their serenity will be unmistakable. The stories of those who practiced the shield continue even today. A woman in Italy, surrounded by constant conflict at work, began to perform the ritual each morning in secret. Within months, her department transformed, not through words or meetings, but through the quiet radiation of her presence. In Brazil, a teacher used it before entering classrooms filled with restless children. She reported that the energy of her students changed almost instantly, as if they too could feel the invisible order she carried. Such stories echo Blavatsky's promise that one enlightened heart can calm a storm of many. The time has come for you to experience this truth yourself. Each morning is an invitation, each breath a doorway. The shield is not given, it is chosen. You do not wait for light to descend from the heavens, you awaken it within. The practice takes only a minute, but its effect reshapes the hours that follow. Every challenge becomes lighter, every encounter more meaningful. You begin to see that protection and creation are one and the same act. To shield is to shine. In the next part, you will witness the culmination of these teachings, how the law of reflection operates in your daily life, and how each vibration you send becomes the architect of your destiny. You will see how light, once awakened, cannot return to sleep. And perhaps you will realize that the shield was never about defense. It was about remembering who you truly are. The light that cannot be harmed, the awareness that cannot be taken, the eternal witness beneath the storm. There comes a moment quiet and unmistakable, when all the ideas you have heard are no longer enough. You feel it like a soft pull inside the chest, the knowing that truth only becomes real when it is lived. Helena Blavatsky used to say that wisdom not applied turns to dust in the mind. Every light must move. Every insight must descend from thought into action. The purpose of everything you have learned here was never to inspire passivity, but to awaken movement. The sacred act of turning awareness into transformation. The shield is not a philosophy to admire. It is a discipline to practice. It exists only when you create it. From this moment forward, your task is simple yet powerful: to bring the invisible into the visible. To take what you now know and weave it into your everyday life until protection, calm, and awareness become your natural state. Start with the morning. The first minute after waking is your foundation. Before the world enters your mind, enter yourself. Breathe deeply 3 times, not as routine, but as a declaration that you are alive, present, and aware. Visualize the sphere of light forming around you. Soft, luminous, and precise. Whisper your chosen phrase. This light protects me from all darkness, seen and unseen. I walk in peace and strength. Do it every day for 21 days without interruption. Patterns form through repetition. Energy responds to rhythm. During your day, practice remembering. Awareness is a muscle that grows stronger the more it is used. Each time you feel drained, pause. Do not react. Do not analyze. Just breathe. Remember the sphere, even for a second. That single moment reconnects you to your original vibration. Uyertiu. Time, you will notice subtle shifts. Words that once hurt will pass through you. Environments that once felt heavy will become lighter. The law of resonance begins to work in your favor. Blavatsky taught that thoughts and actions must walk together. So extend this practice into your choices. Before speaking, ask yourself, will these words build or break energy? Before reacting, pause long enough to feel whether the emotion is truly yours or borrowed from someone else. The world around you mirrors your inner tone. The more you act from light, the more light you meet. Each week, choose one moment of solitude. No phone, no music, no noise. Sit and observe your breath. Let the silence speak. It will begin to show you patterns, habits, emotions, memories that have quietly shaped your energy. Write them down. Awareness written becomes clarity. Clarity practiced becomes liberation. If you wish to deepen the effect, find small rituals to anchor your intention. Light a candle when you start your day, not as a symbol of worship, but as a reminder that your inner flame exists. Drink water consciously, seeing it as energy entering your field. End each night with gratitude, not as empty words, but as the act of sealing your vibration in peace before you sleep. These simple gestures accumulate, building a powerful magnetic field around you. Life begins to shift in response to your consistency. And remember, this is not about perfection. There will be days when you forget, when emotions overwhelm, when your light seems dim. These are not failures, they are tests. Each time you return to awareness, your strength doubles. The universe measures persistence, not flawlessness. Even the greatest adepts once stumbled, but they never stopped returning to the path. The true mastery of the shield lies in the way you treat others. Protection without compassion becomes pride. Energy must flow to remain pure. Use your calm to soften those who suffer. Offer your silence instead of judgment, your presence instead of opinion. This is how you turn personal light into planetary healing. One act of kindness from awareness carries more power than 1,000 unguarded words. Now, as you reach this final part, pause and look back at the journey you have taken. You have learned that energy follows thought, that protection begins within, that your vibration shapes your destiny. But none of this will matter if it remains only an idea. Knowledge without application is like a lamp without oil. It cannot shine. So here is your plan, simple but transformative. Each morning, 1 minute of silence, breath, and light. Each day, awareness of energy in every emotion and interaction. Each week, 1 period of solitude for reflection and writing. Each night, gratitude to seal your field in peace. Follow this pattern for 40 days and observe what changes. Keep a notebook near you. Record coincidences, dreams, or sensations. Watch how life begins to align itself with your intention. This is not coincidence. It is the universe answering your command. You are not alone in this path. All over the world, unseen by each other yet connected in spirit, others are doing the same. They are building a web of consciousness strong enough to heal what fear has broken. Every time you practice, you add a light to that web. This is how the age of awakening begins, quietly, through individuals who remember. Blavatsky once wrote, "The most sacred temple is the heart that knows itself as divine." Let this be your reminder. The shield is not only protection from harm, it is the doorway to remembering your divinity. You are not a fragile being at the mercy of unseen forces. You are a current of the same energy that moves stars. And once you know this, fear can no longer find you. So as this video ends, your journey begins. You now carry the tools to build the invisible fortress of light around you. Use them with love, with persistence, with reverence for the gift of awareness. Share what you learn. Teach it not with words, but with the calm in your presence. If these teachings have awakened something inside you, a memory, a strength, a quiet calling, then do not let it fade. Let it take root. Leave a sign of your decision in the comments. Write your thoughts, your experiences, or your questions, even anonymously if you prefer. Each word you share strengthens the circle of light that connects us all. And before you go, click the red button below this video, not as routine, but as a declaration. Only those who feel the call of truth, only those ready to walk in awareness will click it. Subscribe to this channel and walk with us. Like this video so that more souls can find it. And together, let us create a movement of light strong enough to change the vibration of this world. The shield begins within you, but its light belongs to all.